Good morning. Good Monday morning. If you will, the House will come to order. Members will please take their seats. Members will please take your seats. The hour for convening having arrived, all members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you please ring the bell? I trust everyone had a wonderful weekend, had a lot of powerful conversations with fellow members as we head into the home stretch. So it won't require much conversation on the floor. I get it. Y'all going to be very amenable to giving your full attention to the business of this House. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 99th House District, Representative Matt Reeves. Representative Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, House colleagues. We are here this morning with 2.5 weeks left in the 2023 Georgia General Assembly, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you Father Jack Durkin of Catholic Church of St. Monica in my district. In the spirit of true confession, I am not a Catholic. I go to church slightly outside of my district in Representative Hilton and Al's district, and before that went to a great church in Duluth represented by Representative Marin and Roman, Perimeter Church and Duluth First United Methodist Church. But in order to avoid a chaplain residency challenge, I invited a pastor from the middle of my district, from the heart of my district, Father Jack Durkin. St. Monica's Catholic Church opened about the same time that Peachtree Ridge High School opened about 20 years ago, and they've been faithful in service to our community for the past 2 decades. On Friday night, they had a fish fry, and we're doing Stations of the Cross to get ready for Easter. They minister at home with St. Vincent de Paul, Ministry to the Needy. They minister abroad in Haiti on the mission field, and they do a great job proclaiming the faith, serving those in need, and looking after people and people's dignity every day. Father Jack Durkin was a teacher and coach in Athens and Macon before he went in the priesthood. He's been a priest nearly a quarter of a century. For basketball fans out there, he went to Chapel Hill and Wake Forest, and he is here today to speak to matters of the heart. Father Jack Durkin.
So we'll just say a prayer this morning. Thank you for inviting me today. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. And dear Father, you crafted each of us in our mother's womb in your sacred image to come to know the truth that frees us for abundant life and fruitful love. As one God, you are ever holy and good, and as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, you are eternal love. For love's sake, you created angelic and human persons so that they would choose the happiness you desire for each of them, each of us, the happiness of Holy Communion that we call heaven, the destination, Father, that you prepared in eternity for each person in history. We humbly acknowledge that we have not always worked for Holy Communion, that we have sinned and sown division, that we have abused our freedom in seeking what we want rather than exercising our freedom in doing what you will. Your will is not for partisanship, but for partnership, not for taking from others for myself, but giving myself for others, not for blaming and canceling others, but for helping and cooperating with others. Father, by your grace, free us from sin and error, then set us together upon the common foundation of objective truth, upon the natural law written into the hearts of all citizens of goodwill. Indeed, make us people of goodwill, representing citizens of goodwill. Make us this day representatives not primarily of our citizens, but representatives for you. You who know and will what is best for each and for all. May we in your name express opinions respectfully and rationally, and in charity and truth craft legislation for our state that anticipates the perfect law of love in heaven. Father, may our legislation benefit each person in our state, from those in the womb to those approaching the tomb, whether male or female, no matter what race or language of birth, all called with their great array of talents and charisms to contribute as one in completing your work of creation. In our state, raise up holy and generous individuals and families and organizations of all sorts. May our laws help all those in Georgia to share in the responsibilities that come with freedom. For all disparities and differences, Father, you ordain or permit for a creative and fruitful exchange by cooperation of different but complementary individuals. May our legislation enable and encourage those of us with food and drink to feast with the hungry and thirsty, those of us who are at home to welcome the stranger to it, those of us wearing clothes to dress the naked, those of us in health to visit the sick, and those of us with freedom to visit those in prison. In the beginning, Father, you said, it is not good for man to be alone. Help all of us, therefore, to remember always that we need one another, that no one is expendable, that our love is to extend not only to family and friends, but even to strangers and enemies. May our politics never divide us in ideology born of envy, but unite us in truth born of love. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you very much, Speaker. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Father Durkin. We appreciate you getting our day off to the right start. Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Members, you may join Father Durkin in the South Ante room for a photo, if you so like. Chair recognizes Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits. Chairman Tarvin.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And on another note, we're 80% there after today. We lack 8 days, so everybody needs to work hard and not give up. And just something to think about. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue to try that counts.
Profound words if I've ever heard them. Never give in. I know another man about your statue that said that. Never give in. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day?
Representative Strachan of the 104th moves following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period of unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 709 by Representative Washburn of the 144th, Dickey of the 145th, and Knight of the 134th. Bill be taught an act to amend and act to provide a new charter for the city of Forsyth.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 710 by Representative Chokas of the 151st. Bill be taught an act to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Schley County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 711 by Representative Reeves of the 99th, Administration of the 104th, Clark of the 108th, McLean of the 109th, Muggle of the 105th, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend an act providing a homestead exemption for $4,000 for all county, school district ad valorem taxation.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 712 by Representative Davis of the 87th, Beverly of the 143rd, Mitchell of the 88th, Schofield of the 63rd, Scott of the 76th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 5, Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to program weights and funding requirements.
Education.
House Resolution 449 by Representative Cooper, the 45th, Anulowitz, the 42nd, Seabowl, the 34th, Washburn, the 144th, and Evans, the 89th. A resolution designating Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Awareness Day.
Public and community health.
Senate Bill 287 by Senator Parent of the 42nd. Bill be titled an act to amend an act relating to the Board of Education of the City of Decatur.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 288 by Senator Parent of the 42nd. A bill be titled an act to provide a homestead exemption from the City of Decatur Independent School District ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 704 by Representative Jones of the 47th and Martin of the 49th. A bill to amend an act incorporating the city of Milton and Fulton County. House Bill 705 by Representative Jones of the 47th and Martin of the 49th. A bill to amend an act to incorporate the city of Milton and Fulton County. House Bill 706 by Representative Powell of the 33rd. A bill relating to prestige license plates for special plates and certain persons and individuals. House Bill 707 by Representative Smith of the 70th, Thomas of the 65th, Glaze of the 67th, Bonner of the 73rd, Jenkins of the 136th. A bill to provide for the compensation of the Coweta County Board of Education. House Bill 708 by Representative Chastain of the 7th. A bill to authorize the governing authority of the city of Ellijay to levy an excise tax. House Resolution 438 by Representative Taylor of the 173rd, Stevens of the 164th. Petrie of the 166th, Parrish of the 158th, Buckner of the 137th, and others, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on the Okefenokee Swamp through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Beth Camp from the 135th District, Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals, and under its consideration, following bills of the House, has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 468 do pass by substitute. House Bill 540 do pass. House Bill 601 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 620 do pass. House Bill 621 do pass. House Bill 624 do pass. House Bill 631 do pass. House Bill 642 do pass. House Bill 644 do pass. House Bill 662 do pass. House Bill 511 do pass. House Bill 623 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Beth Camp of the 135th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
House will come to order. House will come to order. Members, please take your seats. Members will please take your seats. We have a very special resolution this morning. Thank you, members. We have a very special resolution this morning. Mr. Clerk, will you read the captions of House Resolution 466?
House Resolution 466 by Representative Panich of the 51st, Carson the 46th, Roberts the 52nd, Silcox the 53rd, and Evans the 57th, and others, a resolution commending the State of Israel upon its 75th anniversary.
Representative Panich is recognized to speak to the resolution. Representative Panich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Shalom, y'all. Come on. Shalom, y'all. Thank you. It's my honor to present this resolution. Whereas the Jewish people established a sovereign and independent state of Israel on May 14, 1948, and the United States immediately recognized and established full diplomatic relations with Israel. And whereas 2023 marks 75 years of the realization of the Zionist dream of the Jewish people regaining independence in their ancient homeland. And whereas 2023 also marks 75 years of robust United States and Israel relations reflected in the relations between the state of Georgia and Israel, a special relationship based on mutually shared democratic values, common strategic interests, and moral bonds of friendship and mutual respect. And whereas the state of Georgia is an unequivocal supporter of the state of Israel and its right to defend itself against terror and any threat to its security, and whereas Georgia is proud to serve as home to the Israeli Consulate General to the southeastern United States. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the members of this body commend the state of Israel upon the grand occasion of its 75th anniversary, support Israel in its legal, historical, and moral right to its reestablished independence, and recognize the Jewish people's right to self-determination in their ancient homeland. It is my honor to present Consul General Anat Sultan Dadon, who assumed her role as Consul General in Atlanta in July 2019. Consul General Sultan Dadon joined the Israeli Diplomatic Corps in 2004 and has held various positions at the embassies of Israel in Cameroon, Germany, the Netherlands, and Australia. At the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jerusalem, Sultan Dadon has held positions in the Euro-Asia and Asia-Pacific divisions. Sultan Dadon earned a BA in Psychology and Education from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in 1999. My mother also went there. And an MA in Criminology with high honors from the same institution. In 2020, Sultan Dadon was honored by Morehouse College with induction into the Martin Luther King Jr. International College of Ministers and Laity. In her current role in Atlanta, Sultan Dadon is responsible for promoting all aspects of the bilateral relations between Israel and the 7 states covered by the Consulate General of Israel to the southeast: Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Sultan Dadon is married to Yaron, and they are the proud parents of 3 girls. On the floor, I'd like to also recognize Deputy Consul General Alex Skenler, Director of Political and Government Affairs Karen Eisenberg-Jones, Director of Public Affairs Aaron Braunstein, and Chief of Staff Jacqueline Allen. I also like to recognize the consulate staff in the gallery. Please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. It is our pleasure and honor to welcome you to the House of Representatives. Thank you.
Shalom. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Panich, for the very warm welcome and introduction. Jewish visionary Theodor Herzl, who turned Zionism into a political movement 125 years ago, famously wrote, "If you will it, it is no dream." Today, we celebrate the realization of the age-old Zionist dream, and there is so much to celebrate. We celebrate the regaining of sovereignty and control of our destiny, and the incredible regathering of our people in our ancestral homeland. In 75 short years, we've established a vibrant democracy, a diverse society, and a robust economy. Israel, one of the smallest countries in the world, is today one of the world leaders in technology and innovation. Minutes after the State of Israel's Declaration of Independence on May 14, 1948, United States President Harry Truman officially recognized our statehood. Since then, the United States has stood steadfast in its support of the nation-state of the Jewish people. Within the United States, the state of Georgia has consistently demonstrated an unwavering support of Israel and of our bilateral relations, which encompass a vast variety of fields: economic, cultural, academic, and more. In 2022, the Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus was launched, with the list of members continuously growing, a reflection of the strong relations that we enjoy. Alongside the many achievements, one crucial achievement is yet to be fully realized, that of peace with our neighbors. Peace has been achieved with Egypt and with Jordan, and the Abraham Accords signed in 2020 between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain are paving the way for a new Middle East, one of partnership and prosperity for those who choose a better tomorrow for their peoples. Both Israel and the United States are fully committed to further expanding the circle of peace. While we will keep pursuing that goal, we will also always remain prepared to defend ourselves against any threat to our state and people. Israel's eternal commitment as the nation-state of the Jewish people is that never again will a Jew face hate, danger, or persecution with nowhere to turn. But there must be a global commitment as well. With anti-Semitic incidents reaching an all-time high in the United States, declaring never again on Holocaust Remembrance Day is not enough. Anti-Semitism must be actively and consistently recognized, exposed, and addressed. I would like to commend the many representatives here who just a few days ago demonstrated moral clarity in voting in favor of HB 30 to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism in the state of Georgia. As we celebrate our accomplishments and as we continue to face challenges, we know that we do not stand alone. I would like to finish by saying thank you, toda rabah, to our many friends here in the Georgia State Legislature for your support and commitment to Israel and to the continued realization of the dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul General. Georgia and Georgians have always been blessed to have a relationship with Israeli people and with the country of Israel. 75 years, what an awesome milestone. We thank you for your relationship in Georgia with the many companies, Israeli companies that are part of our business climate here, provide a great working relationship. But most importantly, we appreciate the continued partnership that we have with the country of Israel, your dedication to peace in the Middle East, but peace around the world. We're indebted to you. We honor you today, and you honor us with your presence here today. So thank you for being with us, and we want to continue this relationship. Thank you for your recognition of the work of this House and some important legislation. Again, I just thank you and again for being with us and being a part of what this country holds dear as well as your country does. Thank you. Members, thank you for your attention. We're going to move on with our business for this day. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. For what purpose does Representative Leverett rise?
Make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that House Bill 540 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Leverett moves that House Bill 540 be removed from the local calendar and be voted on separately. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 540 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd, Wilkes County, a bill to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Wilkes County.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 540 be removed from the local calendar and be voted on separately, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. For what purposes Representative Jordan Ridley rise? Jordan Ridley.
To make a motion,
State your motion.
I move that House Bill 642 and 644 be pulled off the local calendar and voted separately.
Representative Ridley moves that House Bill 642 be removed from the local calendar and be voted on separately. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 642 by Representative Ridley of the 22nd, Cherokee County, a bill to establish a Board of Elections and Registration for Cherokee County.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 642 be removed from the local calendar and be voted on separately, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 644?
House Bill 644 by Representative Ridley of the 22nd, Cherokee County, a bill to abolish the Board of Elections and Registration for Cherokee County.
The gentleman moves that House Bill 644 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately. So the House now will entertain that House Bill 644 be removed from the local calendar and be voted on separately. On the gentleman's motion that we remove House Bill 644 from the local calendar, voted on separately, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. So members, what we'll do now, our posture is we will vote on the local calendar without the three bills that we just removed from the local calendar. And one bill on the local calendar relates to homestead exemption and requires a recorded 2/3 roll call vote for passage. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. Is there no objection? If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar. The clerk will read.
House Bill 468 by substitute by Representative Bentley, the 150th, City of Butler. House Bill 601 by substitute by Representative Silcox, the 53rd, City of Sandy Springs. House Bill 620 by Representative Scoggins, the 14th, Bartow County. House Bill 621 by Representative Scoggins, the 14th, Bartow County. House Bill 623 by Representative Gamble, the 15th, Bartow County. House Bill 624 by Representative Gamble, the 15th, Bartow County. House Bill 631 by Representative Parrish, the 158th, City of Swainsboro. House Bill 662 by Representative Bruce, the 61st, Fulton County. House Bill 511 by Representative Horner, the 3rd, Catoosa County.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass without House Bill 540, 642, and 644? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of the bills on the local calendar, the ayes are 640, the nays 0. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 540?
House Bill 540 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd, Wilkes County.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill on the local calendar will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. For what purpose does Representative Leverett rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that this bill was requested by the county commissioners of Wilkes County, who are exclusively, it's a Democratic institution and composed of no Republicans on that board?
I'm sure the gentleman knows of what he speaks and knows the makeup of that board.
One further parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not further true that the reason for the manner of appointment in this bill was so that we can preserve seats for the existing members of the Board of Registrars, who are currently all women, and to my knowledge, there are 3 African-American women whose seats are desired to protect because they're some of the nicest people you could ever met, and nobody on the commission wants to have to risk somebody else getting on that board except for them.
I'm sure the gentleman understands the lay of the land down in Wilkes County and believes certainly in what he speaks. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bills on the bill on the local calendar, the ayes are 97, the nays are 68. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 642?
House Bill 642 by Representative Ridley of the 22nd, Cherokee County.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill on the local calendar will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Draper rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is it not true that nothing in DeLay v. Sutton, the alleged reasoning for the restructuring of Cherokee County, requires allowing commissioners to be able to reject all proposed names from one party in the way HB 642 outlines?
I'm sure the lady is very learned and she's read the legislation and certainly believes what she's stating.
Additional inquiries, Mr.
State
Speaker?
your inquiry.
Isn't it true whether the holding in DeLay v. Sutton applies to boards of elections is an open question of law and, in fact, is currently being litigated in Cherokee County Superior Court, making HB 642 untimely?
I'm not sure of that, but I would say that the lady has certainly studied the proposition, understands a lot of things about our judicial system, and she certainly believes in what she states.
One final inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
One more inquiry.
Thank you. Even though HB 642 is on the local legislation calendar, isn't it true that there are candidates from all parties on the ballot in Cherokee County, including statewide candidates, and that as such, the bill has implications beyond the borders of Cherokee County?
I'm sure the lady understands and knows of what she speaks.
Thank you.
For what purpose does Representative Thomas rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that line 1 of both 642 and 644 explicitly state this is for the Board of Cherokee County, Board of Elections for Cherokee County?
I'm sure the gentleman's a learned engineer and he can read very clearly and distinctly. He knows of what he speaks.
My reading is pretty good. Further inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it also not true that this is a local bill that's been voted for and passed by the local delegation?
I'm sure the gentleman knows what he speaks, and the delegation, I hope, has followed the rules of this House.
That's all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you for your inquiry. For what purpose does Representative Westbrook rise?
Parliamentary inquiry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that HB 642 would allow the Cherokee County Board of Commissioners to appoint partisans of only one political party to the County Board of Elections and Registration, thereby potentially weaponizing the board?
I'm not sure the chair follows your exact line of thought, but I know the lady is a learned attorney and believes in what she speaks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does Representative Olale rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that the boards of election and registration determine voter challenges and also certify elections, which is why partisan balance is so important?
I'm not sure exactly what the duties of the boards are in this legislation, but the makeup of the boards certainly are very important in each county in this state, and I'm sure the gentleman believes of his points.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does Representative Ramon rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true that the current election supervisor of Cherokee County, who herself identifies as a Republican, wrote to every legislator requesting that we reject this legislation? Her message was quite urgent. She called it urgent, and she mentions that this model could potentially be a threat to election integrity.
I have not seen that letter, but I'm sure the lady speaks of what she read in the letter, and I respect her opinion. For what purpose does Whip Burchett rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that DeLay v. Sutton does not have an open question of law as to whether it applies to the Board of Election? It applies to all public boards. There's no question of whether it applies. Isn't that true?
I'm sure the gentleman has read extensively on that subject and then certainly believes in what he states.
Further parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that it is a time-honored tradition here to let the local legislatures propose and vote on their local legislation?
I'm sure the gentleman believes in what he so states.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm going to take a couple more inquiries, and then we're going to call this one. We're going to call the vote. In a spirit of bipartisanship, Whip Park is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is it
this a parliamentary inquiry?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true, Mr. Speaker, that a few years ago a local delegation introduced legislation approved by a majority of that delegation that was still rejected, that would have reformed the Gwinnett Board of Elections? Is that not true, Mr. Speaker?
I'm sure the gentleman has a great grasp on the history of this House, and I'm sure he believes exactly what he states.
Further inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that if we continue to see Republican counties introducing these reformations to their Board of Elections, that hopefully we'll see the kind of deference given to democratically controlled counties in terms of how they would want to reform their Board of Elections?
I'm sure the gentleman believes exactly what he just said to me, and I'm going to leave this up to all the members of this House to make a determination on the legitimacy of your thought, and I'm sure the gentleman does agree and has thought very much through it. I'm going to take one more inquiry, and that's going to come from the representative from the 22nd. For what purpose does Representative Jordan Ridley rise?
Parliamentarian inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that there are more than two parties in this great country, and this bill allows representation from those outside the two large parties and ensures fairness to all parties and even those who are registered independents?
I'm sure the gentleman believes everything he just stated to me. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of the bills on the local calendar, passage of the bill on the local calendar. The yeas are 97, the nays are 70. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 644.
House Bill 644 by Representative Ridley, the 22nd, Cherokee County.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on House Bill 644? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill on the local calendar will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill on the local calendar, the ayes are 97, the nays 71. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. We're now going to recognize our Doctor of the Day. Representative Okoye will introduce our Doctor of the Day. The gentleman from the 102nd is recognized. Representative is recognized to introduce our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Doctor of the Day comes from the best House district in the state, District 102, Lawrenceville. And she is Dr. Latifa Watford. Dr. Latifa Watford is a trained general child and adolescent and forensic psychiatrist with over 25 years of clinical experience and over 10 years of clinical leadership experience. A former assistant medical director for the long-term residential psychiatric facility for children and adolescents, and former chief of the Behavioral Health Department provides psychiatric care for the Southeast Permanente Medical Group, the multiple specialty provider group responsible for the caring for providing care to the members of the Casa Permanente of Georgia. Dr. Watford earned her undergraduate degree in chemistry/pre-medicine from Florida A&M University. She went on to receive her medical degree from Morehouse School of Medicine. After graduation, Dr. Watford completed 5 years of specialized training in pediatrics, general psychiatry, and child adolescent psychiatry at Indiana University in Indianapolis, Indiana. During the last year and a half of her residency, Dr. Watford served as chief resident for 2 different residency programs. As chief resident, Dr. Watford served as a liaison between the faculty and training doctors and excelled in the role of teacher, clinician, administrator, and leader. Upon completion of her residency program, Dr. Watford returned to Georgia to complete a fellowship in forensic psychiatry at Emory University. As a lover of travel, Dr. Watford spends her free time traveling with her family, exploring new places, cultures, cuisines. A strong believer in self-care, Dr. Watford also takes time to indulge in her other passions, reading and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Watford.
Good morning, and thank you so much for allowing me to come and serve you as you serve all of us Georgians. Your hard work and dedication is appreciated. Even though you may not hear it every day, we know you're fighting a good fight. Please continue to fight hard for us, and we will continue to take care of you. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
That's great. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Whiteford. We appreciate you being here and taking care of us. We're going to move on to morning orders. Chairman Todd Jones, recognized for a morning order. Chairman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Forsyth County delegation, we would like to welcome to the People's House St. Bosco and the Hybrid School in Forsyth County. So I hope they're still in the audience. If they are, hello, and we hope that they're having a great time here at the Capitol. Thank you so much.
I'll have this conversation with you, Mr. Chairman. I want to understand what a hybrid school is. I'm not sure. So I'm going to learn today. You can come up here and tell me if you will. Chair Lady Houston and Chairman Perkle are recognized. There they are for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chair Lady Houston and myself would like to make sure that you take advantage of this leather drink coaster on behalf of ABAC. 115 years old. Little known fact, in 1962, ABAC alumnus Tom Chaney struck out 21 batters in a complete game victory for the Senators, 2-1. 21 strikeouts, 228 pitches in a 16-game. ABAC people work hard. Thank you. They're not here, right?
That's a pretty awesome day. Just had a good fastball, I guess. Now I know what a hybrid school is. They're a curveball. Leader Beverly, I'll share that with you in case you don't know. Representative Park Cannon and Representative Yasmin Neal recognized for a morning order. Here she comes, Representative Cannon. She's on the way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So today we're excited because we have a group of 30 students from Clayton County visiting the state capitol for the first time. They are in the gallery. Hope you can wave. Yes, in the building. Now, okay, so the thing that's most exciting is their educator. His name is Alfred Shivy Brooks. He's been raised here in Atlanta. He actually started marching in 1992 after the historic Rodney King protest. He's been featured on the front of the New York Times with the George Floyd rally. He, of course, got his start in being in the public by being on 106 and Park's Freestyle Friday competition, if y'all remember that. That's always been very fun. He actually went to the Andrew Young School of Public Policy here at Georgia State and graduated cum laude. We're just really proud. He used to be a legislative aide here for the Working Families Caucus and then went on to work for the AFL-CIO and now is a full-time educator. We just thank you, Alfred, for bringing these kids today to the Capitol. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, representatives, and welcome, young people. We're glad to have you. Representative Tran is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is AAPI Media Day, and I'd like to ask Lee Wong and Georgia Asian Times up in the gallery to stand up and wave to the fine folks down here. Welcome to the Goat Dome. A little bit about Georgia Asian Times. They were founded in 2004 as the first Asian American newspaper here in Georgia. Kind of like last night we had the first 2 Asian American actors win Oscars. So they cover not just the Asian American community, but the local businesses, health, lifestyle, food, and arts. They also cover Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Malaysian, Cambodian, Laotian, Filipino, Singaporean, Vietnamese, Taiwanese, Thai, Burmese, Indian, and Indonesian communities here in Metro Atlanta. So they are here at the Capitol today. They've asked everyone to join them in 502 for lunch upon adjournment. Come meet them. Maybe they'll do some press coverage on you or invite you onto their podcast. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, and welcome to your house. Good to have y'all. Chairman Carson, recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to say real quick, we have a group of Trail Life and American Heritage girls here at the Capitol today. I think they're out touring around the Capitol Rotunda and upstairs, but I see one little girl up there in the gallery. Could you stand? She's wearing the red uniform with American Heritage Girls, a faith-based organization, along with Trail Life and other faith-based organizations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That completes morning orders. We're ready to move on to the rules calendar. Members will please take your seats and take those important conversations into the anteroom. There's probably 2 or 3 of us who want to hear what's going on, at least. Members will cease conversation or take your conversation into the ante room. We could be done by lunch if we go ahead and get started. Members, will please give your attention to the member in the well that's presenting the bill. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 21, Senate Bill 21?
Senate Bill 21 by Senator Kirkpatrick, the 32nd and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 38-414 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to creation of the Georgia Veterans Service Foundation Incorporated, purpose, operation, and reporting so as to revise operations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Defense and Veteran Affairs, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes the Chairman of Defense and Veterans Affairs, Chairman Bonner, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I rise to present Senate Bill 21. This comes as a request from the Department of Veteran Services, and it makes adjustments to the Georgia Veterans Service Foundation. First, it increases the number of board members to 13, up from 7. It reduces the terms of those board members from 7 years down to 3 years. And then it increases the frequency of the meetings from annually to quarterly. And the final thing it does, it allows the commissioner to appoint the executive staff of the foundation from the existing employees of the Department of Veteran Services. That's the bill. Mr. Speaker, I'll stand for any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 169, the nays 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 23?
Senate Bill 23 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, to be titled an act to amend various titles of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated so as to revise committee name and repeal provisions relative to inactive boards, panels, authorities, centers, commissions, committees, councils, task forces, and other such bodies. This bill having referred to the Committee on Code Revision, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Hilton of the 48th House District will present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. Today I'm proud to present to you Senate Bill 23, which renames and eliminates various inactive boards, commissions, councils, and authorities. Among the list includes the Georgia Education Authority, which no longer is operational per DOE, the Georgia Rail Passenger Authority Overview Committee, that's a mouthful, and my personal favorite, the World War I Centennial Commission. Senate Bill 23 offers us a fantastic opportunity to begin to remove hundreds of lines of legislative code, an exercise we may want to consider again in the future. I know sometimes we pride ourselves on how many bills we pass. It may be a healthier exercise to see how many we can take off the books. 2 changes were made in the House committee process. First, language was added to help legislative counsel, our clerk's office, by removing the duplicative process of pre-filing bills. Second, a member of the Palliative Care Council testified in committee that their counsel should be kept on the books despite lacking a quorum of appointed members and not having met in over 3 years. That counsel was indeed added back in. Senate Bill 23 passed unanimously a little over a month ago, and I ask your favorable consideration today. With that, I'll yield for questions.
Gentleman is yielded for a question. The lady from the 141st District, Representative Hughley, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I will always yield to my seatmate.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were presenting this bill. Can you tell me about the rationale for eliminating the Commission on Women's Health, why we would no longer need that?
Great question. So this bill is actually birthed out of the genesis of a former colleague of ours, Representative Regina Quick, who served over the Lieutenant Governor's office. And during her work over there, she identified a number of council, commissions, and authorities that were really no longer operational, including the one you mentioned. So we've reached out to all of them. All of them have since closed down, and we're simply removing these from the code.
The representative from the 35th, Representative Campbell, to your left, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
This is a follow-on question to Representative Hughley. I'm curious to understand a little bit more about the Office of Women's Health, when they were initially started, the work that they've accomplished, and again, the rationale for closing that down, especially in a time when I know we're all focused on supporting women's health throughout the state.
Great question. I'm sure there was an excellent rationale as to when it was started. It's since ceased operations. I don't have any additional background to offer you at this time, but happy to connect one-on-one to you and I can explore some more.
Does the gentleman further yield for another question?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Would the gentleman be open to amending this bill to include keeping the Office of Women's Health open so that further review could be conducted?
Not sure if amendments are allowed on the floor at this time, but happy to work with you on legislation if that office is needed to be put back in at some point.
Gentleman, yield for another question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Bruce, to your left in the back of the chamber, has a question.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir, I do.
The work that these committees, these departments that are being eliminated, has the work gone to other departments to be done, or is it just not being done at all?
Not being done at all. In a lot of cases, like I said, they've ceased operation. They don't have appointed members. They have kind of statutorily ended their work or what their initial mission was. So yeah, they're essentially obsolete at this point.
Will the gentleman further yield?
Yes, sir.
Is there some place that you are aware of where people that are interested could find out what these departments were doing, keeping in line with what the ladies have already mentioned? It just seemed that some of those that you've named, that there's still work to be done under those, if you assume what they were doing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's great, the title of it sounds great. I'm sure there's great work to be done. I'm sure a lot of that work, frankly, is being done by our agencies and other boards and commissions that the state has. The state has probably hundreds of boards and commissions that are doing good work on women's health and other issues every single day. So,
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Park Cannon to your left for a question.
Thank you. Do you yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you help us understand changing that House rule around the pre-filing of the bills not having to be publicized anymore? What's that about?
That's a great question. So you can still publicize a bill, talk about it to your constituents. What we're simply doing is removing a duplicative procedure where really toward November, you can go into Legislative Council, they write the bill, you file it, but then you don't really file it. You have to come back, and on the first day of legislative session, that's when you can file it. So you can still draft a bill and file it day one of session. We're just removing a process by which you have to draft a bill, get a different backing to it, and then come back in, have them add another backing to it, and then file it again on day one of Legislative Council. So there's nothing stopping you from drafting a bill to, before session, advertising it to your constituents. It's just we're changing. You then file it one time when we get into session at the beginning of the year.
Just a further question. So why would you say that it was duplicative before, and why is this a better solution? Does it change the bill number?
Because Legislative Council, they draft a bill, they put a different backing to it. You then pre-file it, and really you haven't filed anything. So you'll reserve a number, say HB1, and then HB1 is kind of floating out there until you file that bill. You actually have to come back in, get a different backing to it, and get co-sponsors to that bill. So it's removing kind of a second step and going back to a practice that we've had in this body in the past.
Gentleman, yield for another question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader of this House, Leader Estration, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Sir, isn't it true that your bill does not abolish the Office of Women's Health? It simply alleviates the reporting requirement that that office may have, and that's as covered under Section 6.1 of your bill, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right,
yes.
So any concerns as to work that's being done by the Office of Women's Health would be unaffected other than the reporting requirement that's referenced here?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Couple of more questions that bring some clarity to this this issue. Representative Chokus is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true, sir, that in committee many of these boards did not meet and haven't met in quite a few years? And also, isn't it true that when we had the hearing on it, none of the boards in question that we were taking off the books, none of their representatives even came to the committee to defend the work that they did. So I commend you on this, and I thank you for this legislation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield the well. If there's no other questions.
The gentleman has yielded the well. He has a couple more questions, but he's yielded the well. I think we've had a thorough discussion and clarified a couple of points that were of concern. So thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the questions, members. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. For what purpose does Representative Montahan rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that while we are eliminating the reporting requirement of the Office of Women's Health, that this state also has the Georgia Commission on Women, whose three main pillars are human trafficking, maternal mortality, and women's health? And I think that this chamber and the governor's office and the Senate is all very supportive of women's health in this state, and we want to continue to see that work being done.
I'm sure the gentleman knows of what he speaks and believes of what he speaks. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 108, the nays 61. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. We'll move on to afternoon orders. Representative Hilton is recognized for an afternoon order. Representative Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Twice in one day. This is great. Well, this past weekend, we all had that dreaded weekend where we sprang forward into daylight saving time. The weekend where I must explain to my children that it's really 9 o'clock and not 8 o'clock, and they really do need to go to bed. The weekend when churches are empty because everyone is an hour late, and everyone today is a little bit grumpier because we lost that precious hour of sleep. Wouldn't it be great if this was the last time we had to spring forward? There are enormous health and economic benefits to making daylight savings time permanent. The Georgia General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to move our state to permanent daylight saving time, and Governor Kemp signed that bill into law. However, we can't do it without congressional approval. This could be our last spring forward if Congress would pass the Sunshine Protection Act. These are bipartisan bills in both the Senate and the House. The same bill passed the Senate unanimously last year, but with a new Congress, it had to be reintroduced. I know Congress has a lot of weighty issues to address, but I think we can all agree on one thing, that they ought to move forward. Please join me and our former colleague, Rep. Cantrell, and millions of other Georgians in urging Congress to act today to pass the Sunshine Protection Act and end the antiquated practice of changing our clocks twice a day. With that, twice a day, twice a year. Mr. Speaker, I'm tired. I yield the well.
Did the gentleman say that your colleagues are all grumpy? Is that what you said? I thought that's what you said. I mean, I'm not sure that's allowed by our rules to say that about your colleagues, but Representative Hutchinson is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Christian. Christian was born in 2006. He's a sweet and affectionate child who loves taking walks, playing games like Uno, listening to rap music, and watching Bob's Burgers. He loves action movies, and Marvel movies are his favorites. Colleagues, Christian is one of hundreds of children available for adoption in Georgia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Representative Cameron is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honor a man, one of our great men in Dade County who passed away in the last week. Calvin Newton was a pioneer in gospel music and Southern gospel music. He sang with the Oak Ridge Quartet years before they became the Oak Ridge Boys. He also founded a group called the Sons of Song, which was one of the precursors of modern Christian music. Later in life, he sang with the Gaither Homecoming Group and did many videos with them. Today, he's laid to rest in Rising Fawn, Georgia, with the Oak Ridge Quartet and a lot of the Gaither family there to sing him home. Rest in peace, Calvin. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Cameron. Representative Reese is recognized for an afternoon order. Representative Teddy Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today, my colleagues, because last Thursday I failed to mention that yesterday was me and my wife's 7th anniversary, but she didn't fail to remind me that I didn't go to the well and say happy anniversary. So even though we lost an hour of celebration this weekend, I stand today to say happy anniversary to Dr. Chastity Reese. Love you, baby. 7 years in.
A lucky woman to be married to Representative Reese, no doubt about that. Representative Draper is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I suspect most of us here would fancy ourselves very familiar with how elections work. After all, every single one of us has been on the ballot. But let me ask you this. How many of you have paid close attention to the inner workings of election administration? How many of you have been a poll worker or a poll watcher or appointed to be an absentee ballot processing monitor, a vote review panelist, a ballot duplication panelist, or observed an audit? I've done all those things and more, and today I rise to tell you about my first experience seeing how the election sausage was made. So it happened several years ago. I was asked to volunteer on a vote review panel, and I didn't know what a vote review panel was at the time, but what the panel does is it reviews ballots that cannot be interpreted by a scanner and attempts to discern voter intent. So, for example, maybe you have a ballot where there is a voter puts a check mark by a candidate instead of filling in the oval, but there it's obvious what the voter intent is and you can put the ballot for that candidate. Or In another case, in other instances where the voter's intent is not clear, you can throw out the ballot. Like if somebody votes for 2 candidates where they're only supposed to vote for 1. Vote review panels are comprised of the election supervisor or their designee and 1 volunteer on behalf of every party with a candidate on the ballot. My assumption, never having done this before, was that I was going to be dealing with rational actors who were going to look at each ballot objectively and be consistent about the judgment calls they were making, regardless of which party benefited. Spoiler alert, that was not my experience. Right? During my experience, my counterpart on the vote review panel argued that every single ballot up for discussion should be counted in favor of her party's candidate, no matter how tortured or unbelievable the argument was. Where I agreed with her, the ballot went in favor of her party's candidate, and where I disagreed with her, the election supervisor broke the tie. I walked out of that experience with a couple takeaways. First, the process worked. The right results were reached. 2, having the political parties involved in the process as counterbalances to one another was critical to the process's success. 3, when candidates and parties understand the process and have a stake in its implementation, the results, no matter which side they favor, are more readily accepted. And 4, having both parties in the room serve not only to increase transparency around the process, but as a check and balance on the influence any party can have. This body, in its wisdom throughout its history, has recognized the important role that the political parties play in the election process. Title 21, the Election Code, is replete with responsibilities for the political parties that are interwoven into the fabric of how we run our elections here in Georgia. From qualifying candidates, to conducting primaries, to appointing poll watchers, to vote review panelists, to ballot process monitors, to stepping in as an election superintendent if a probate judge is challenged during an election, the political parties play a quasi-governmental role in our elections. And notably, the Election Code gives these responsibilities to all the political parties, not just to one or the other, not just to the one that happens to be in power at the time. The code contemplates that the system works by having all major stakeholders be part of the process and hold each other accountable. It's not about partisanship, y'all. It's about strengthening our democracy. It's about increasing transparency. I trust that this body wants to restore faith and confidence in our elections. Offering parties equal participation opportunities does just that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chairman Chokus is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Bentley and I are here on behalf of Georgia Southwestern State University. Georgia Southwestern State University Lady Hurricanes basketball team is playing in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA Division II National Tournament tonight at 7 p.m. versus Catawba College at Catawba. Anyway, please join me in wishing the Lady Canes success. Go Canes. Thank you.
I'm sure they'll be able to hear Representative Bentley cheering them on. That completes our afternoon orders. For what purpose does Representative Barrett rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that the rules be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Baird of the 24th and others to be entitled an act to provide for a homestead exemption from Forsyth County School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes.
On the gentleman's motion that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended so a bill can be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Intergovernmental coordination. We did have one final afternoon order, and I overlooked it. And I'm sure it's special. Chairman Carpenter is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know everybody's ready for lunch, but I thought this was important. I don't know what most of you guys were doing this weekend, but I had a small group of folks in Whitfield County get together and decide that I was not the representative for the Republican Party in Whitfield County this weekend. And I just want to say it's pretty disgusting to attack my integrity and my concerns for my citizens and concerns for this state. So I look forward to whoever you put up against me next year and continue to support the great folks of District 4.
That was obviously worth waiting for. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Recognizing, commending Major General Thomas F. Grabowski upon the grand occasion of his retirement. Commending, congratulating William Aaron Hearn, Christopher Rong Guan Chen, and Cooper Jacob Davis. Commending the John Millage Academy varsity football team. Recognizing, commending Bishop Wilford Dura. Honoring, commending Nisi Shaw. Recognizing, commending Dr. Donald W. Jackson upon her retirement. Recognizing, commending Sierra Gates. Recognizing, commending Destiny Bailey. Recognizing, commending Andy Smith Harris. Recognizing, commending Myasia Simone. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. We do have some announcements. Chairman Tyler Paul Smith is recognized for an announcement.
Members of the House, duty non-civil, we will have our committee photo upon adjournment today. Thank you.
Representative Tran is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the DeKalb delegation, we will be meeting today in room 510. Lunch will be provided. Members of the DeKalb delegation, we are meeting upon adjournment in room 510, and the George Asian Times is in 502.
Representative Jasmine Clark is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today at 4:00 p.m., the Westminster Robotics team will be here in CAP 230. They are bringing their competition robots, and they want to share them with you. Food will be served. Please support the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Hawkins is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be a meeting on Health Committee 2 o'clock today in Capitol 403.
Representative Nulowitz is recognized for an announcement.
Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, and that means the best fed delegation in this General Assembly, the Cobb County Legislative Delegation, is meeting at noon in 514 of the CLOB. Lunch will be provided.
Probably have some members who want to join you there. Best fed, that gets the job done around here. Representative Gamble recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. in the House Judiciary Committee room, the fellowship will meet. All members are invited and hope you can join us. Thank you.
Leader Estrations recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Speaker. The Council Superior Court judges will have a breakfast tomorrow morning from 7:30 to 9:30 in the Floyd Room of the Twin Towers. Hope you all can make it. Thank you.
Chairman Dickey is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Agricultural Consumer Affairs Committee will have a committee meeting in the morning at 8 o'clock, CLOB. Thank you.
Chair Lady Cooper is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the members on public health, we will be meeting today. You got a notice saying 1 o'clock, but since there are some luncheons, let's make that 1:15 and 5:06 CLOB. Public health, 1:15 and 5:06 CLOB.
Chairman Williamson is recognized for an announcement. Son.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Majority Caucus will be meeting in room 403. Lunch will be served. That's room 403 at noon. For the Majority Caucus, lunch will be served.
Chairman Noel Williams is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have banks and banking today in 606 CLOB at 2 o'clock. CLOB 606 at 2 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Gullett is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The subcommittee for telecom and EUT will meet today at 4 o'clock. We have one bill to discuss. EUT subcommittee telecom 403. Thank you.
The majority leader of this House is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, March 14th, 2023.
On the motion of the majority leader that this House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes have it. We're adjourned.